I believe we might be live. Let's have to find out though. Let's just make sure. I think we're good. Yep, cool. Here we go. I'm going to actually fix my volume first. Fantastic. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the stream in which we have movement to discuss. Actual movement. Actual Leeds United announcing things that hasn't happened yet that I'm aware of, but is right around the corner because Leeds United currently have Harry Wilson in the building at Elland Road, which is a pretty significant little bit of movement because everyone has been sort of doing a little bit of a panic recently around basically everything. A lot of panic around Pascal Struijk, which I'm sure we will discuss. A little bit of panic around Harry Wilson because he hadn't announced as early as people necessarily expected him to. And a little bit of worry about various other moves that may or may not be happening. But it looks like we are actually going to get something going on at the moment, which is genuinely fantastic. Hello there, Pete. This is going to be one of those fairly floaty streams where I will happily discuss anything and everything and sort of float around from topic to topic to topic because Harry Wilson signing isn't exactly like breaking stuff. We knew this was going to be happening for a while now, but at the moment it has been effectively confirmed by everyone a while ago as to whether it was happening, and now it seems to be effectively confirmed as to it's happening today, which makes a lot of sense because apparently the club returned to training yesterday off the top of my head, which is pretty nice. Very, very happy with that. So yeah, I would just before we dive into things, because I know that like it's been a while since I've done a stream, and I'll be honest, I've got to get back in the flow of things. On a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat, can you just put how happy you are with the signing of Harry Wilson? Because at the moment I'm a good old 8.5, 9. Like it's a very, very, very good deal to have done because we know that he's a very, very, very good player. Um, Especially when you have a look at his numbers from last season, which were frankly ridiculous. They were significantly better than a lot of players that Leeds United actually had. So last season he got himself 10 goals in the Premier League, got himself 7 assists. I don't know what he did in the cup, but I'm gonna have to find out. But per 90, he got 0.57 goals plus assists, which means that every other game you could expect him to do something, which is a really, really solid return. I'll just have a look at Leeds United's numbers actually. So if I just go Leeds United, FBRF, did we have anyone that was doing anywhere near the same kind of numbers? Because a solid 4, Sly, come on. I know that you like to troll from time to time, but calling that a 4 is bonkers. It is genuinely madness. Right, what did Harry Wilson do outside of the Premier League? Managed to get himself a goal in the FA Cup against Borough, which isn't half bad, especially a goal and an assist in 35 minutes, which is pretty damn good going. Didn't really do anything in the EFL Cup though, but you know what? Pretty damn good. Having a look throughout the season, yeah, I mean, in terms of Leeds players, not a single Leeds player did the same kind of numbers as him. The closest we've got is Noah Okafor, who got 0.52 goals and assists per 90, which is lower fairly significantly. And Noah Okafor was a little bit less sort of reliable when it came to being able to actually do the minutes. He's a fairly injurable kind of guy, which isn't necessarily the best of things. But people are sort of floating in the 7, 8, 9 kind of territory. But it's a good signing to get done, I think. And I think we also need to consider it in the context of the squad. Because a lot of people last season kind of went, oh, the squad's crap because we keep having to play Brendan Aronson. Guess who doesn't need to necessarily play right now? Like, we're in a position where if we want, Brendan Aronson can just sit on the bench, come off the bench for a few minutes at the end of games and set the world on fire a little bit. That, I think, would be a pretty damn good role for him because we know that he's good at injecting all that kind of energy. Harry Wilson can start games, can last for the majority of games. Let's see, how often was he subbed off, actually? So, a lot of the time, he had a tendency to come off. So he did the full 91, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in the Premier League last season, which isn't bad. But at the same time, when it comes to the substitutions, it tended to be like 80 minutes onwards, 79 minutes, which means that if he's coming off, it's probably game management stuff, not a fitness thing. 8 out of 10 would be Brandt. What? I mean, but they're completely different players. So if Brandt is only an 8 out of 10, I'm very, very, very confused as to what a 10 out of 10 looks like. Unless you're thinking that somehow we're going to re-sign Rafinha, but that one doesn't exactly feel like that's going on. Four Candles, you, my friend, are one of the most baffling people I've seen on the internet. He's on holiday. I'm like, as much as this is going to be a little bit of a moment of complaining at football fans in general, right? So many people sort of come out swinging against players a lot of the time. But we need to consider that they are, in fact, people. And if they're going on holiday, let them have a holiday. And this isn't a bite, this is just like, come on, let's brain in gear, because I know it doesn't tend to happen too much with Four Candles. Like, I do read my comment sections. But come on, let's take a moment and just sort of click it into gear, you know? Kieran Doyle says, hello, first time commenting. Score of 8 just because of the signing, but take off 0.5 for 7.5 for the player. It gets the 8 for showing me business. Ooh, hold on. Why are we losing 0.5? I'm a little bit confused. I'll be honest, it's been a day. It's, however, the saddest day of a World Cup, right? I don't know if other people feel this as well, but we've hit the first day of a World Cup where there are no World Cup matches, which, on the face of it, is fine. That it's gonna happen at some point. But that little irrational part of me is like, I'm so used to having at least 2 games of football a day, potentially 4 games of football a day to watch. Where's it gone? And then tomorrow you've got what's going to be absolute chaos with Morocco versus France. And hopefully France get knocked out because, let's be honest, everyone is looking over in the direction of Morocco and that side of the bracket and going, I really hope Morocco and Belgium win their matches. Because if they don't, oh boy, that final is going to be absolutely terrifying. But that's okay, because we need to get through Norway and Argentina and the referees first. Because Argentina matches are not being the most cleanly of refereed. Oh, right, okay, I get you now. Right, okay. I thought you were saying that you rated the player as an 8, but you were cutting a 0.5, but rating him as a 0.5 and then adding the 0.5. That makes a little bit more sense to me, I think. Good thing is away training, getting ready, Wilson's best season incoming. That would be an absolute dream, especially with the fact that Daniel Farke is actually quite good at player management. A lot of people have looked at things and kind of gone, well, we've had issues with a few players not quite getting on, and etc., etc., etc. In terms of fitness management, we were one of the best sides last season. Like, across all of the teams in the Premier League, we had one of the fewest numbers of injuries in terms of, like, games missed. Hold on. Games... I'm going to actually get the data for this one. Games missed due to injury, Premier League, 25-26. I completely forgot what year it was for a moment there. Right, this is from the 1st of May, so it's not when the season is done. But at this point, we had 17 injuries, which is slightly more injuries than the team just below us in the list. But what matters a little bit more is that we only had 77 games missed due to injury, which is really solid, because the next team on the list was West Ham with 78, and like, fair enough. But the team with the most games missed due to injury was Spurs with 363. The fact that we missed 5 times fewer games through injury shows that our physio department is really solid. And a couple of people have talked about Harry Wilson saying, well, he's approaching 30 and all this kind of stuff, and is he going to have a physical drop-off? There is no better place for him to be, in my opinion, than Leeds United if he is approaching that physical drop-off. Because if he is, we've got sort of the physiotherapists to deal with that. We've got the people behind the scenes that can go, right, we'll mend you, put you back together, we'll give you a few weeks off, and then you'll be back on a football pitch. Because Farke's way of rotating as well isn't a case of we'll rotate week to week. It's a case of if you're injured, you're out the squad for a bit until you are 100%, and then you can come back in again. Yes, the Meslier thing was an out-of-contract kind of job. It was... We couldn't sell... Well, I say we couldn't. There were rumours that we'd sorted out a deal to sell him last summer, but Meslier didn't want to go, which makes a little bit of sense. I think it was Lorient, but Lorient are never going to pay the kind of money that Leeds United are going to pay when it comes to big contracts like that. So he decided to stick it out, which I think was probably a bad move for him because he had an entire year without football. Or at least it should have been a bad move for him. Was it a bad move for him? Not even a little bit. Because somehow, some way, some mind-blowing madness means that, bizarrely, Illan Meslier is playing at a Champions League club. He's playing at the champions of England that were in the Champions League final last season. Oh, I don't understand it. I can't understand it. There's nothing about this that adds up, and you're like, oh, okay, that's sensible. What? Okie dokie, Rick. I hope you have a good time working. I don't know what you do for work, but I hope it's enjoyable all the same. But I don't understand why. I'm sorry, but the potential was always there. Arsenal have seen this. Bielsa knew something about this lad. True, but at the same time, over the past few years, he has repeatedly shown that he's not great. Third choice. Is it third? Hold on. Arsenal squad. In fact, I'll go to Arsenal on FB Ref and I'll see who got the minutes there last season. Sort my goalkeeper. No, but Kepa's leaving. That's the thing. So you might say third choice, but Kepa is reportedly on his way out. And Tommy Setford is reportedly on his way out on loan. Which says that he's just a straight up second choice. Which means that somehow he's going to be Arsenal's starting goalkeeper for a lot of cup matches. Why? How? I don't understand. Oh my god, Illan Meslier could win a cup. Hang on. Really? Sorry, I'm running a poll. Quite simply, will Illan Meslier win a cup before Leeds United, assuming he actually plays? It doesn't count if they have an FA Cup run and they win the FA Cup, but Illan Mellier's not played a minute. He has to play at least like 2 games of whatever tournament we're talking about here. Because I think there's a genuine risk that he might, and I am slightly devastated by that. Hopefully we get a cup run next season just to sort of rebalance things. But that it's a bit nuts. I think I understand the argument for it's a second choice keeper. Obviously, you don't want to spend too much money on them. But at the same time, it's a second choice keeper. You might want them to goal keep. And that's where things get a little bit complicated, I think. Or Arsenal have no cash. Arsenal will have plenty of cash. Arsenal got to a Champions League final and won the Premier League last season. They are not going to be struggling for money in the slightest. I think it's a case of maybe shifting funds more in the general direction of a forward player. I say this. It's Arsenal. More in the direction of a less defensive player. But I don't see it being a biggie, you know. Right, okay, I'm waiting for 5 o'clock. It's just turned 5 o'clock to see if there's a scheduled tweet from Leeds to go, look, we've got Harry Wilson, because if not, I'll be very, very confused. Because at some point, it's got to happen. Arsenal interested in Rodgers at 130 million. Mind-blowing. Like, the amount of money that is going on midfielders right now is insane, and that's why I'm very, very happy with our recent strategy of keep things affordable. Because we're in a world right now where a semi-decent central midfielder, I say semi-decent, like Elliot Anderson is starting for England, but a good central midfielder is going for £115 million. So the fact that we managed to pick up Stack for 18 last year was incredible. The amount that Ethan Ampadu must be worth is colossal. And that's why I'm kind of happy that we're taking the approach that we are. I'm looking for relatively undervalued players. Looking for players that are, in theory, ridiculously expensive. Like, if Harry Wilson last season, if he gets double-digit goals and 7 assists from midfield, and then you have to use cash to buy him, as opposed to not doing that, as opposed to getting him on a free, then the amount of money that we have to chuck at Harry Wilson would be nuts. It'd be like £40 million-ish at least. Like, admittedly, he's not the springest of chickens. He is on the ageing side, but young midfielders at the moment are far too costly. I don't quite get it. I don't know what's going on there, but it's fine. In terms of other moves as well, in fact, I'll do it this way. Does anyone have any other Leeds United-based transfer news that they would like to discuss? Because I am happy to discuss absolutely anything, but I've done relatively little planning for this stream, because I'll be honest, I didn't do a video this morning, and the fact that I didn't do a video this morning means that I felt bad, which means that I'm doing a stream now. So here we are. I'm planning on doing some more streams as well, just as the summer goes on. It's just I'm waiting for the momentum to pick up a little bit, so we'll get there. Zetterstrom, the Derby goalkeeper, is going to be a fairly complicated one, because as far as I'd heard, it was a situation in which he might potentially want to make a move, because obviously if you're starting at a World Cup, there's a pretty damn good chance that you're going to be above Derby, especially when he was performing at a fairly solid standard. Issue being, he was at a World Cup, and when you're at a World Cup and someone asks, are you potentially looking at moving clubs, the only answer you're realistically going to get is, that's not an issue for right now, I'm too busy paying attention to the national team, which is absolutely what you would want to do. It, like, as a player, as an agent, as either the buying or selling club, everything makes a lot more sense to say, we'll just wait and we'll do things after the World Cup is done, because if you rush things, then things get complicated. You could have a little bit of annoyance in various international camps, all that kind of stuff. Keep it sensible, keep it slow, keep it soothed. Fine. From this point onwards is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because Zetterstrom could make that move to Leeds United. However, we don't know that for absolutely certain. Like, Zetterstrom making a move would make a lot of sense. He wants the move, and we are potentially looking at new goalkeepers, but that would rely on outward movement from Leeds, because I don't see us having Darlow and Perry and a Zetterstrom or a Suzuki. Suzuki, very, very interesting, weird situation, by the way. The way that I'm looking at that is, if we were to do Suzuki, who is absolutely going to be the #1 goalkeeper because he's a fantastic keeper and everyone would love to see him in. Weirdly, the Italian press are still saying that it's basically on, whilst local press are saying, no, there's no chance, which is making this a fascinating watch. If it's to be sort of that superstar goalkeeper, it's going to be a case of, absolutely, we're going to sign them and move someone on. If it's going to be a Zetterstrom, who is less of that sort of superstar, less of the big name, then I think that's more likely to be a job of, if Darlow goes, if Perry goes, then we get Zetterstrom in to sort of cover for the gap, and we'll have the two compete against one another, see who owns the spot in the starting 11. Whereas if it's a case of Suzuki, it'll be, right, Suzuki in, Darlow, go wherever you want. Or Perry, cool, Torino actually want you, bye-bye. We've got a new #1 goalkeeper. And yeah, there'll still be the case of actually having to fight for the position, because if you don't do that as a manager, you're being a little bit daft. You're causing yourself more problems than anything, because obviously you want every single player in your squad to have the idea that, oh, I could get minutes here. But I don't think Zetterstrom is going to be one of those players where we go out of our way to get them in and force someone else out, because I don't quite think he's got that sort of level about him. #1 World Cup prospect for Leeds, I would initially go with Suzuki, because Suzuki was absolutely excellent. In terms of other players at the World Cup, I'm trying to think of who has been really impressive whilst being a little bit under the radar, because the majority of players that do really well at a World Cup, it's just a case of, oh, right, okay, you're just immediately going, thank you all, Boxed Up. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. No, it didn't do the thing. Hold on. I'm gonna replay that. Hold on.
Big up Joe.
There we go. I had to show off the fact that I've got the Welshman in the background, because if I don't show that off, I get a little bit sad. So let's have a look at various players. It'll be under stats, won't it? You know, a little bit of me, for the vibes, would say someone like a Vizinha, because Vizinha has been genuinely incredible. In terms of potential other keepers, not necessarily keepers, sorry, other World Cup talent, but I've just given away who I might be talking about, is a goalkeeper, and it would be Gregor Kobel, because is it Kobel or Nubel that's looking for a move? Hold on. One of them is looking for a move, but they have very similar names. It might be Nubel. I think I'm thinking about the wrong guy. Yeah, I'm thinking about the wrong guy. I'm thinking about Nubel. Never mind, ignore me. I was going to say getting Gregor Kobel in would be absolutely fantastic, but that one doesn't seem particularly likely now. Outside of that, I'm not seeing any names that are sort of like, yeah, we got to go out of our way to sign them. That isn't someone that is already either on the radar of the big money clubs or already at the big money clubs. Like somehow, apparently, Veghorst did okay, but hold on, we'll go players with minimum appearances. No, the vast majority of it is players that are already sort of highly regarded because that's how they get there in the first place. I do quite like Itakura. Itakura was a very, very solid player when I saw him, and he was fairly unlucky to be. Because, like, Japan had this weird thing, right? And this is a very specific thing, but it's something that kind of bugged me. And the way that Japan's management worked was they had a tendency to say, like, okay, we're going to rotate the squad quite heavily because then the opponents won't know what to expect. And it's like, sure, that works in theory. But once you do that, you've got no sort of solidity and no firm underbelly in your squad. Tanaka, man of the match in the Japan match against. Oh, I'm trying to remember who they played before Brazil. But he was fairly comfortably their man of the match in that game, which is fantastic. Like you love to see it. It was Sweden. Yes. But then it's like, okay, we'll drop him to the bench and kill all his confidence. What are we doing? Get it together. Stop it. Behave. Gilberto Mora, not a chance. I love Gilberto Mora, but he is one of those players that is at the level that he is at that age, which means that there's no chance that he's going to come to Leeds. Where is he at the moment, actually? I know there's word of interest from, like, Arsenal. He's currently at Tijuana, which means that, in theory, a move, but not to us. Brandt going to Atletico Madrid. That one I have heard word of, but I've not seen that it's confirmed. I think it's still in the phase where Brandt's agent is having as many conversations as he possibly can to get that interest up. But we'll see how that one goes. Have we seen any photos of him at Elland Road? We have not seen any photos, but all of the reliable sources are saying that it's basically happening. So I'm rolling with it. A little look of Junior Ito, right wing Japan. Ito's quite good, yeah. Most of the Japan team will. Yeah, but we can't. It'd be a very weird move to build our squad of half of it's Welsh, half of it's Japanese. Like, I love the theory behind that, but in practice, that feels like you just have two factions that might like each other and might not necessarily like each other. I don't know what this is. This is like two cricket balls, and you're like, oh, hold on. Actually, I remembered. I've got a cricket ball. It'd be like this, and then the Welsh lads would be like, we've got the man of the match, and then the Japanese lads would be like, haha, no, we've got the man of the match, and then it bounced from team to team. And actually, now I mention it, then you've got two sides that would both quite like to feud with each other, so that could work quite well. Anyway, just been told 2 hours until Wilson announcement as LUTV doing media now in the East End. This is right, okay. This is the perfect time for there's that guy who keeps doing footage of the West Stand being constructed, and he keeps sending up a drone. Now would be the perfect time for him to just put a drone up opposite the East Stand and go, yep, he's there. And then just release the pictures. That's like, just do it that way. It'd be way, way easier. If Melia does okay in limited appearances, they may be able to flip him for 10 to 15 million. Imagine. Oh, I don't think so. I know that that's if he does well, but I think him doing well is a pretty big question mark to begin with. Like, I'd like him to do well, and I've just noticed that I'm now just fidgeting with the cricket ball, because that's how it works. But, I don't know. it feels like one of those moves that he's going to be a spare part and he's going to not look particularly great when things go wrong, which it's fine, to be completely honest with you. Egypt looked very good. I think Egypt looked good until they effectively stopped playing and they hit the point of, if we lose now, it's just unfair. Which, fine, I think dropping those points... Not points, sorry. Having that goal disallowed was bollocks, because it would have been a ridiculously soft foul anyway, and the amount of fouls that are not given that are identical to that across the pitch at all times is huge. But that shows there's a not very great mentality amongst the players there, and that means that you're potentially getting players that are a little bit whiny. Like how when Senegal had the match basically robbed from them against Morocco at AFCON, there was the fun little weird thing where Sadio Mane was the one guy that hadn't run away and was kind of like, guys, please come back, let's finish the match, shall we, please? Which shows that he's someone that has his head in the right place and that not everyone's head is going to get completely swiveled by the fact that their teammates are being sort of whiny bitches, to be honest. So, whilst there are talented players in that Egypt side, it's one where I don't want to say the no dickhead rule would potentially rule them out, but it's more of a, we'd need to be very careful about the personalities that we were signing, because signing the right personalities has been a very, very big thing for Leeds United since the 49ers came in, and continuing to do that is something that we need to continue. Because if we don't do that, then potentially problem players just ramp up and up and up and up and up, and that's not great. Will Wilson be announced tonight? I believe so. At the very least, he's at Elland Road doing media stuff. If it's not tonight, it'll be tomorrow. But I would be shocked if it wasn't tonight. I had someone in the comments a few minutes ago saying that the media is being filmed like now, and it'll be announced in the next 2 hours, but I can't really do something in 2 hours because I'm a little bit busy for the evening. So, yeah. Hello there, Hannah Bone. 7 p.m. 7 p.m. would make a lot of sense. Heads went down after the Romero goal. You knew it was going to be a quick comeback. Yeah, it was a little bit relentless. I've felt bad for them in a way, but at the same time, yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? The reason I felt worst was, shit, Argentina are through another round. Because if we beat Norway and we end up eyeing up a semi-final of either Switzerland or Egypt, you're feeling really good. But now it's Argentina or Switzerland, and that gets a little bit more shaky. I think Argentina are very clearly a not very good side, and that might be one of the sort of controversial things, but everything goes through Messi. And if it doesn't go through Messi, they're not going to create much. That's why at the age of, I think, 39, off the top of my head, but at the age of 39, Messi scored 8 goals, which shows that they're a little bit reliant on him at this point. Let's see how many goals Argentina have scored on the whole. Actually, they've scored 5, 8. Yeah, they've scored 14. So he scored more than half of their goals at this World Cup, which is fine. You can lean on a player, but at the same time, you've got to consider that he's also been assisting players. And it shows that they're a side that can be beaten, and I think the Swiss might manage it. And I think if the Swiss don't manage it, we've got a decent shot at that too. If not, it'll be fine. I believe in us. We'll be okay. Where are we? Heard they're going to replay the match with different officials in an Argentina shirt. Right, this is a really fun fact, actually, because it was something I discovered yesterday. At this World Cup, they've had officials from multiple nations for every single match so far. So typically your referee and your lines people will be from the same country, but the fourth official may be from somewhere else, and the VAR may be from somewhere else, and sort of the assistant person will be from somewhere else. However, there is the first match where that hasn't been the case is coming up, and that is France versus Morocco, and you're thinking, okay, that's fine. I mean, it's a quarter-final, whatever. However, all of the officials for that match are going to be from Argentina. Now, this is one where, right, so some could argue that one of the biggest threats to Argentina getting to win the World Cup again is going to be France. So you could say that there's a little bit of conflict of interest there, especially when there's so many other countries that still have referees at the World Cup to cover those matches. If you make it all German, fine, that's okay. But it all being one of the remaining teams and one of the big rival teams, that feels a little bit not good, especially when the entire World Cup has already felt a bit not good and a bit leaning in the direction of Argentina. But either way, it's fine. I'm sure it's level. Whatever. Anyway. The World Cup's been really good, so I've not been thinking about Leeds that much, to be honest. Yeah, I'll pick up in the next couple of weeks. I have been trying to think Leedsy things, but it's been fairly difficult to a lot of the time. Because a lot of the news is stop-starty, because if you want to sign a player that's at the World Cup, it's tricky. Because it always get... What the fuck? Sorry, Manchester United reached agreement with Chelsea to sign Andre Santos for 48 plus £2 million plus a 10% sell-on clause. Andre Santos. Are we sure? Okay. Very weird. Oh, also, apparently English referees aren't allowed to officiate Argentina matches because of the Falklands War. Okay. It's about as level as a potholed road. Damn right. It has been a little bit not great. There's been sorry, I've read that one. Toffee told me Darlow to Everton is a go. I don't know about that one. I think he's still making his mind up, and I'll be honest, keep him or not keep him, I'm not entirely sure. According to James Marshment, as of 8 minutes ago, last we were told on Farke is that all is fine, nothing on Darlow, all gone quiet. I imagine the Farke one will be completely fine, to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't see Daniel Farke eyeing up a move elsewhere, and simultaneously I don't see us eyeing up a different manager when he's effectively proven himself last season. I know a lot of people are still mad at the idea of Daniel Farke, but he did his job. That's all you can realistically ask of him. But anyway, I will be bringing the stream to a close in a couple of minutes' time. Any further questions or anything, chuck them in the chat. That'd be absolutely wonderful. Let's call it Questions Corner, and I'll stream for another couple of minutes and cover some bits and bobs. It's been running for a few days now for Santos 50 million. It's no chance he's worth £50 million. No, absolutely not. This is what I mean by the fact that, like, midfielders have insanely overinflated values. Like, he's an alright midfielder, but he didn't exactly pull up trees against us. Yeah. I don't know. Bit weird. Hi Joe, good to catch live if I'm like, it's fine. I haven't done too many live streams. I'm looking to do more throughout the transfer window, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I would look at Moise Bombito as a Pascal replacement. I will have to look into him. I don't know too much. Darlow will mess up with our transfer business. I don't think he will. And I think even in the event that Carl Darlow does go, we'll sort things out well enough. I don't have too many worries about everything, to be honest with you. I think we'll be okay. Just join. What's the crack? The crack is that essentially Harry Wilson is going to be announced probably at 7 o'clock. But that's roughly where we're at. However, I'm going to bring that to a close because I've got a chicken teriyaki to cook. Not a chicken teriyaki, a beef teriyaki. What I'm going to do, right? I've got a fairly decent steak that I'm going to slice real thin, and I'm going to do it as a sort of in with some cauliflower, broccoli, bit of teriyaki, as in the sauce. Obviously the sauce. Some mushrooms, but fairly like big mushrooms, so they've still got some crunch to them. You know, well, not crunch, but you know what I mean. They bite back a little bit. Bit of rice in there, absolutely lovely. I forgot to get chilies though, so I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. Anyway, I'm not going to eat on stream because I'm going to eat with my wife and child. So there we go. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please pop a like on the stream. I have realised that I have forgotten to say please pop a like on the stream. But we've currently got 66 likes. I reckon if everyone... Boop! Steak and trees. Yes, we'll go with that. I reckon if everyone popped a like on the stream now, I'd get up to 100 relatively quick, so that'd be absolutely lovely of you. But yeah, I'm going to leave that there. I will potentially have a video out first thing in the morning, depending on if anything happens to discuss. If not, we'll find out. I'll at the very least make sure that I do a stream or something tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Can you make some for me? Just hold the beef. I do it all in one wok. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'll keep it in mind though. Yeah, anyway. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Toodaloo, me amigos. And now I've got to find the right button again. You'd think that I'd set up my stream deck again, but I keep forgetting to do that. Anyway.